If you've been following Deadlock these last few years, you know that 2025 was an absolutely monumental year for this game. So many things happened, so many changes, and honestly, I think 2026 is going to be an even bigger year for Deadlock. Hey everyone, this is Connor here at Dead Unlocked, and today I want to do my New Year's resolutions for Deadlock this year. These are basically all things that I think could happen to the game. I'm not saying all 10 things will happen, but these are all things that feasibly I think could be added to the game, and selfishly, these are things that I want added to the game. Some of these I'm going to use leaks that we've had and kind of use them to incorporate realistic suggestions. Otherwise, these are just things that, based on industry standards and other games, there are good comparisons to Deadlock that I think we can expect in the game this year. This is just something I love to do. I love New Year's resolutions, and I love the kind of this time of year to kind of frame the next year, set goals, set checkpoints, all that good stuff. So let's get into, like I said, my New Year's resolutions for Deadlock in 2026. Number one are basically alternate game modes. So right now, Deadlock, you boot it up to play it, and there's really one way to experience this game, and that's in its traditional 6v6, kind of 2 people in each lane, standard game of Deadlock. I would really love to see there to be basically more ways to play and interact with this universe in 2026. One of the major leaks that we have covered on this channel that we actually think is coming potentially in this January update is an ARAM style mode called Street Brawl. So we think this is going to be added. There's still a lot of details to be figured out about this mode. I haven't heard anything about it in a long time, but this is something that, like I said, we expect to be coming in the game pretty soon. And I think this is actually really important. I'm going to talk about beginner players and kind of their need for some more resources later in the video, but Street Brawl and things like it would be a really great thing for new players to essentially be able to learn the micro of this game. You know, right now, a normal game of Deadlock is so macro focused, you have to have at least some kind of understanding of split pushing, when to jungle, how to transition from laning to mid game and then into the late game. All that can be pretty overwhelming for a new player, and so a mode like Street Brawl to be able to just learn how the abilities work and how to track and all this kind of stuff is super important. And I think that could also be stretched even far beyond that for in terms of where my imagination could go. I'm a former Overwatch player. Like a payload style mode could be really good for this. There could be a progressive point capture system you could do in Deadlock. Basically, I don't think we should restrict ourselves to thinking of Deadlock as this kind of third-person hero shooter MOBA, and that really being all it can be. I actually think this game can be so much more than that. I think Valve have their imagination set potentially on this being almost like a multi-genre game, to where we can see elements of a lot of different kinds of games coming together. And I think the main way that is expressed is in different game modes, so that is kind of my number one New Year's hope for Deadlock, is some new game modes. Number two is cosmetics. So I think that this is absolutely going to be something that comes to this game at some point. There is a question of whether we get these this year or not. Part of that is probably wrapped up in the question of when is the game going to come out, and does Valve want cosmetics to come along with the release, or would they be fine with kind of like a staggered, release the game in open beta and then introduce cosmetics later? That's kind of that's just a Valve question I truly don't know the answer to, but I think at some level we obviously will get cosmetics in this game. And these are going to be so incredible. I get really stoked thinking about this, because the characters already have so much lore built into them, and the way they look already lends itself to so much personality. We've even seen snippets of this, and I think it was last year's winter event. We got some very basic skins for the heroes, but I think we're going to be able to do so much. I mean, you could even have hideout skins, ways to decorate your hideout your own way. Maybe it's a wallpaper you can put up. I don't know. I mean, this is one where your imagination can really run wild with how Valve are going to monetize this game, and I think Valve kind of are the kings of doing this. So I have my bar set very high for what cosmetics could be in this game. I don't necessarily know how that's going to come to fruition. Will there be gun skins? Will there just be hero skins? Will there be things for the hideout? Will there be things for around the map? Like I said, all that I still feel like is very much all on the table, but I would expect at least some kind of cosmetics this year, just so they can begin rolling out some kind of profit model. I don't know that Valve is in a hurry to make money on this game, but I know that cosmetics are a huge way to do so, and eventually it's nice to make some money on a game that you've been working on. So I expect cosmetics in 2026 at some level. To what level though? Not really sure. Number three is just kind of more cinematic elements in general. So I think you can mean this in two ways. Number one, cinematic elements to the in-game experience itself. So for example, right now when you boot into the game, loading into the hideout is kind of its own little cinematic moment. It's this cool little zoom in, you arrive in the hideout, and it's this really neat thing. I think adding more of those specifically to the in-game experience will be really valuable. So maybe it's a post-game play of the game. I heard a rumor about that a long time ago that was in development. There could be team intros kind of on the opposite end, at the beginning of the game. There could be all these different things that happen to kind of make the in-game feel like it's more of a real experience than just the actual core gameplay. But I think obviously the same could be said with external cinematic elements as well. This game has, like I've already talked about its lore a little bit. The lore of this game is going to be so incredible, and the voice lines between the characters are already so intuitive. I watched another video on YouTube recently, I can't remember, I'll try and link it if I can remember, but it was basically breaking down why the voice lines are so good in this game, because the characters are so human and relatable, and they actually talk to each other like real people. That is so good already. I think iterating on that in external kind of marketing material and cinematic stuff for fans to enjoy and players, whether it's comics or videos, are just going to be so good. I mean, these are the people who have brought us Team Fortress 2 and all the antics and funny things that came along with that game, so I can only imagine what they will do with Deadlock in 2026. Number 4, it wouldn't be a Dead Unlocked video, I feel like, without talking about the open beta or when this game releases. But I really think it has to happen in 2026. I mean, this game is almost like a secret that has been kept for too long, and I think the public needs access to this game. Like, I think for it to, not that it has to happen or the game will be doomed or anything like that, and I know Valve honestly knows better than me when it comes to kind of the release cycle of the game and when to put it out, but it really makes sense to me with all the publicity of the game, the progression it's made in the last year, that we should see a mass release of this game in 2026 in some capacity, I would think. Now again, whether that's an open beta or just a full rollout or however Valve plans to do that, I don't know what elements they're going to want, maybe specifically things on this list, done before that happens, but I still think it has to happen this year. When? I don't know. You all know me. I think it's going to probably happen this month, but I've been wrong about that so many times up to this point that I really don't know anymore. So I'm just hoping for 2026 at this point for this game to come out. That way everyone can experience it just like I have. Number 5, and this one is really important to me, especially in light of the holiday event where I just tanked my ranking, and that is a delineation between a ranked mode and an unranked mode. Basically different queues and then a complete rank reset. I think this is just something that is needed, honestly, more for the current players than all of the new players that will come in the open beta. I think all of us over the last month have probably just destroyed our ranking. I'm sure the average rank is down. It at least just feels like it would be. But I feel like whenever this should go hand in hand with an open beta release, you're going to have this massive flux of new players coming into the game. I think you'd be able to support different queue times at that point with the player count. And then also just because of, like I said, the influx of new players, you're going to need a ranked mode and an unranked mode for everyone to be able to kind of reset and find their place in the game. So I think this will absolutely be coming. Like I said, this one really feels like it would come with the open beta, but nonetheless, something I still think we'll get in 2026. Number 6 are just some additions to the Hideout. Now, I have made a complete video just about what I love about the Hideout and why I think it's such an important addition to the game. I love the Hideout. It's so cool. What a vibe and what a neat way to queue into a game. Just nothing like it. I think Valve has unlimited potential with what they can do with this thing. I mean, this already is like such a valuable social setting for friends that queue together. It's a great way to like decompress between games. Like I said, I've yapped about this so much in another video. Definitely go check it out if you love the Hideout like me. But I think there's so much you can do with this. I mean, there's already little hints about like a trophy case or little things on the mantle in the fireplace. They already decorate it seasonally. There's an elevator that could easily take you to different floors. Like there's just so much you could do with the Hideout. And I think if Valve don't do anything with it in 2026, it will be a missed opportunity. So I'm hoping for a lot of creativity. Like I said, my imagination can really run wild when I think about the Hideout and everything they could do to it in 2026. Number 7 is a major esports event, probably with a prize pool greater than something around $25,000. So I think 2025 was a really important year for Deadlock Esports, and personally, I love the grassroots esports feel when it's just a tournament that people are putting on for the love of the game with players that are just playing the game because they love it and they see themselves doing it competitively as a future. But I think we all know that's not the most sustainable thing. So I think as Deadlock kind of comes more into its own with things like an open beta release and more press kind of coming around the game, I think we will get larger and larger prize pools for esports tournaments, and I am really stoked for this. I mean, I was very involved in the esports scene in the Overwatch League and in Overwatch Esports back in 2020, 2019, and I am very, very excited to see what Deadlock does with its esports scene in this year. This isn't as related to the actual game itself proper, but I think Valve knows Deadlock is going to be this amazing esports title, and it's a very conducive game for esports. I mean, it's very viewable, it's a popular genre, it's third person, there's a lot of depth of strategy, like analysts could talk about this game at a very high level for a long time. There's draft, like all these different elements that make it such a good esport. I think it will really, really pop off this year, and I'm very much looking forward to Deadlock Esports in 2026. Number 8 is just more resources in general for beginner players. So I really feel like this is a need. This is actually kind of part of like the ethos of the channel and a scope of what I really hope to do here. And this is why I made a video basically with a build for every hero, just that's a little bit better maybe than like the beginner build in the game. I think new players coming to this game could easily feel overwhelmed in its current state and just kind of bounce. I think other queues and like Street Brawl, different things like that are great things to help new players. But just even more, and this is something I think Valve are going to be experts on far more than me, obviously, but just more for the new player to be able to come in, learn the game, learn how the heroes work, all that. I think a lot of that, though, is on the community. It's on us who make YouTube videos. It's on people in the comments. It's the way that, closed alpha players are going to interact with new players that come in the beta. It's really important to kind of be good shepherds and kind of put the ladder down behind us and allow players to get better and give them tips and be a good community. I've seen a lot of toxic gaming communities, and we really don't want to become that. So it's on the community, it's on the developers, it's on all of us, but just basically helping new players out this year is going to be so important. And the new players having a good experience, I guess, would be my way of articulating my goal for this year. So number 9 is at least 40 total heroes in the game. So right now we have 32 heroes, and it's pretty heavily anticipated that we're probably going to get 6 or so added in the next patch. So that would put us at 38. I think we would just get a couple more maybe over the course of the year. Knowing Valve, though, we might get another 10 or so. I really don't know what that number is going to be. But I do think there's a number of heroes that becomes almost too much for that new player experience I was just talking about. If there's 100 heroes when this game comes out, I think that would be a incredibly intimidating task, especially considering how complex all the heroes even are currently. I think somewhere between 40 and 50, maybe 55 would be a really good number, but probably no more than that if we want the new player to actually be able to learn the game, find a hero they like, and stick with it. I think once the game comes out and once it's had some time to breathe with that current count we're talking about, I think Valve could add new heroes all the time and really have this be a pretty robust roster. Not sure what they kind of feel in terms of their number, if they're going to go more like the Valorant roster size, which is obviously much smaller, or something closer to like League of Legends, who obviously has over 100 champions at this point. So a lot of different directions they could go, but in any case, I think at least 40 heroes this year should be expected. So at least some in this major update, and then probably some more throughout the year. My last thing, my number 10 thing that I'm hopeful for Deadlock in 2026 is a final map art update, however you want to call it, and not really just even the map, just a final art pass across the game in general. So I think we've already gotten parts of this in the last, I think it was August, really big update when we got the hideout. Like, it felt like Deadlock really took a step in an artistic direction that was very clear. I just kind of want to see devs close that out. Like, let's get redesigns for all the heroes that really need them. Obviously, heroes like, I would anticipate Viscus or Yamato getting remodels, for example, maybe Sinclair. Ones that just look a little bit more rough around the edges, or maybe our old ones from Neon Prime. Certainly would expect them to get remodels this new year. Things around the map, some assets that kind of just look a bit barren right now. This is something that we've talked about on the channel. This is actually one of my first ever kind of exclusive leaks, if you want to call it that, was that there currently is a massive art sweep happening across the map. So I know this is going to happen at some level, at least on the map, but I just would love to see it in the game as a whole, and I think devs understand that too, and that's got to be something that's kind of on the list. This is one of those things I put it at the end because when you talk about things like a final art pass, if you're going to use that language, it really does usually signal a significant step forward with the game, at least in my experience. So this is something that I have really kind of like circled on my calendar for when we start to see this happening, because that's really when the red flags will go off of like, all right, this game really is close to being what we think it's going to be. And I think we'll really start to see some of the potential coming to fruition when we see some of that final art getting completed across the map and in the game overall. So very, very excited to see how this pans out. I'm a sucker for this game's art. I love how unique it is. It's like one of the things that drew me to the game more than anything else. So I'm just excited to see what more devs can do with it in 2026. So those are 10 of the many goals and aspirations that at least I have for Deadlock in 2026. I'd be very curious to hear what you all think of these in the comments, or if there's any that I didn't mention that you all are particularly excited about. There's a lot more I could have talked about. Like, I didn't mention items at all. Like, I didn't mention hero ability, like specific abilities I want to see. I could have gotten really granular and talked about this, in an hour-long video. But in any case, like I said, let me know what you all think in the comments. I think this year is going to be so massive for Deadlock. Like, the potential this game has is unreal, and I think that we will start to see some of that potential actualized in 2026 with these more kind of concrete steps being taken. I also think, for what it's worth, we're going to get a lot more additive updates this year than kind of like swapping in and out parts. I think we're just going to see more elements brought to the game that are new and unique, And that's going to feel really good if you're a current player, because we've been kind of playing on the same general thing, maybe just with different elements, like I said, swapped in and out. But this really does feel like it's going to be the year of additive changes and big swings for Deadlock and Valve. So I am really, really excited to see what they do. But that is going to do it. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And as always, from our house to yours, we'll see you all next time here at Dead Unlocked.